Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Trump promises Judgment Day for the deep state in final South Carolina pitch. Now, this is from trendingpoliticsnews.com. Pretty good site. Those of you want to visit it. Former President Donald Trump received a standing ovation when he promised that Judgment Day will be coming for the deep state when he is reelected in November. November 5th will be our new Liberation Day, Trump told the crowd at CPAC. But for the liars, the cheaters, the fraudsters, and imposters who have commandeered our government, it will be their Judgment Day, continued as the capacity crowd rose for a standing ovation. Yes, that's the deep state. Those nameless, faceless, unelected bureaucrats at every department, every cabinet department, EPA, HUD, education, throughout all the federal government that really and truly take policies that the president wants and does what they want to. And they actually go after the sitting executive of any party, but especially if you're a Republican, and ultra especially if you're Trump. And that was his problem his first term. You know, Donald Trump has a lot of faults, a lot of good traits as well. But one of the things that he learns from, always in his history, if you follow it, is whenever he makes a major mistake, he never repeats it again. And the mistake he made was hiring the wrong people to run these departments and not weeding out the deep state. He was an outsider in the literal sense. I think the last real outsider might have been Dwight Eisenhower. Even though he was involved in Washington a lot as the Supreme Allied Commander in World War II, he might have been the real outsider. Even Jimmy Carter, in a lot of ways, was an insider. Donald Trump is the ultimate outsider. Therefore, he poses a threat. Let's read on. Elsewhere in the speech, Trump referred to himself as a proud political dissident due to his 91 felony charges levied against him by the Biden administration and their allies in deep blue jurisdictions. Yeah, let's take a look at the quick clip from Trump here at CPAC.
November 5th will be our new Liberation Day, but for the liars and cheaters and fraudsters and censors and imposters who have commandeered our government, it will be their Judgment Day. Their Judgment Day.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Now, some might take it as judgment from God. Maybe. We'll have to see. But that's another argument for another time. Elsewhere in the speech, Trump referred to as a proud political dissident, because the fact is Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. Trying to put your political opponent in jail is so anti-American, so wrong. Americans have a deep, even still today, with the twisted two generations that have gone through education and been distorted in their minds about the Constitution and the country, they still have a deep respect for fairness. If you can't be fair to the person you hate or dislike, then you can't be fair to anyone. And this is so unfair, it's hard to even explain and grasp the magnitude of this. You strip away immunity from a former president, it opens the door to every single living president. Barack Obama can be indicted for war crimes. Think about that for a minute, you guys, before you burn the house that you're standing in down to the ground. It's amazing. I stand before you today not only as your past and hopefully your future president, but as a proud political dissident. I am a dissident, and he is. I got indicted 4 times by this gang of thugs for nothing, or as I say respectfully to people from foreign countries, for bullshit, Trump went on to say. Now, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous what's going on, and he's right. Just because it comes from Donald Trump doesn't mean it's wrong. They've weaponized government. They've weaponized the DOJ, the FBI. We've never had anything like this in this country. During maybe some of the darker times in the FBI with J. Edgar Hoover, when he had a lot of dope and negative information on leading politicians and leading people that had influence and used that as blackmail. That's really bad. And we've gone over that by the ton. Friday's Rock Hill rally marked Trump's final pitch in South Carolina before polls closed at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now you see in the top right, he won by 20 points. The former president immediately traveled to Florida for the CPAC appearance upon the rally's conclusion. The former president is expected to emerge victorious in the state's former governor, Nikki Haley. You go over the former governor, Nikki Haley, by 20 points. That's a lot. Now, let me say something about North or South Carolina's primary. It's what they call an open primary state. I live in upstate New York. New York is a closed primary state. In other words, in this particular primary for a Republican Party, only registered Republicans can vote in it. And as time goes on, I was 50-50 on whether I like open or closed. But now that I see closed is probably the way to go. Remember, Nikki Haley lost by 20 points in a state she was governor in. Many, many Democrats voted for Nikki Haley and came out publicly and said so because it's an open primary state. If you really pick just the Republicans who were voting in the primary in South Carolina, he probably won by 30 or 40 points. And that's where really the rubber hits the road. Half of Nikki Haley's voters in South Carolina would never vote for Nikki Haley if she was the presidential candidate. They would never vote for Trump either. They're just there to try to screw over the Democrat Party, to try to pull Trump down. And that's exactly what's going on. It's amazing. The former president is expected to emerge victorious over the state's former governor, who has persisted in the last major Republican presidential contender challenging Trump. A victory in South Carolina would follow resounding wins in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and the Virgin Islands. Haley, on the other hand, is yet to win a single state, not even come close. Despite her lack of electoral success, Haley has vowed to stay in the race. One of the major contributors to her campaign, I believe the money comes from the Koch brothers, has withdrawn their support just as recently. Even if she comes up short in her home state, the former governor recently announced a massive 7-figure ad buy for Super Tuesday states, highlighting their insistence on staying in. According to the Real Politics polling average, Trump is expected to carry the state by more than 30 points. Now, I'll bet you money that Real Clear Politics poll that showed Trump winning by 30 points when he only won by 20, they were polling Republican voters only. I have zero doubt of that. They can't be off by that much. So here it is. Here it is. Here's Trump at CPAC. He flew in right after his rally in South Carolina. Haley's going to stay in. Super Tuesday is coming. It's in early March. I forgot the date, the 5th or the 7th or something like that. There's a whole slew of states. I mean, a ton of them, all in one day. And, of course, it's on Tuesday, Election Day. If Nikki Haley stays in after that, then you know for certain that there are forces in the progressive side of the Democrat Party that are propping her up. And I got to tell you, from a politics standpoint and not a right and wrong standpoint, the Democrats are doing exactly the right thing from their benefit. Now, you might say it's wrong. You might say it's underhanded. And some people might even say it's evil. But I would expect that from Democrats because that's the way they operate. Now, those Republicans that didn't vote for Trump in any of the primaries and don't like him at all under any circumstances, if you stay home on Election Day in November or vote third party or Democrat, you deserve what you have coming. I've never said that before, that somebody will vote. I've said you reap what you sow, a few other things. But if you vote against Donald Trump and for Joe Biden, you are the problem. If you don't want to be a Republican, fine, then leave the party. But just don't do this out of emotion and hatred. Use the part of your brain that's logical. Trump's a very flawed individual, and I'm a huge Trump fan. But you have to pick one or the other. It's either going to be Donald Trump, Joe Biden, or his surrogate, whoever that may be. And those are the choices you're going to have. Yes, there's third party. Yes, the No Labels Party is thinking about Nikki Haley and all those other little things that we can talk about. You remember something, you Republicans out there that are old enough to remember. If it wasn't for Ross Perot in both election cycles, Bill Clinton would not have won. Let me repeat that. If it wasn't for the third party candidacy of Ross Perot, Bill Clinton would have never won. And the country would be a lot better off and a lot different than it is today. Make no mistake. Judgment Day is coming, whether it be from the Almighty or the American voters. I think it's going to be both. Because the future of this country, everybody says this is the most important election ever, and blah, 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 blah. This one actually might be. This is a turning point, just like in 1860. I'm not saying there's going to be a civil war. I'm saying there's turning points in the country, well, they say every 60, 70 years. And this is one of them. Which path are we going to take? The authoritarian state that goes after its political enemies, and unnamed, faceless, nameless, unelected bureaucrats that really run the most powerful military in the world and the largest economy in the world. Make up your mind which side you're on. And until next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.